This is the Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Yes, it is all thanks to TCL Mobile, NBA 2K23 and UPCOZ. Joe Healy, Shane Heel, and the one, Derek Rucker, in the studio with us. To what do we owe this honour, D?
Well, there's a lot going on this weekend down here, Joe, so here I am, come to see my boy Hammer and keep him grounded because we got some things to get through.
We thought it was just a grand final, but it's just a byproduct of boxing and commentating and everything else. He's just hung around.
And my son, Jalen, give him a shout out. He won the Sydney Track Classic, the long jump event with a PB, so well done, buddy.
Plenty happening down in Sydney. Great to have you in the studio. Gents, what are the two best words in sport?
Game 5 in Australia,
Yeah,
Game 7 in the United States.
Game 7 for this week, it's Game 5. Cannot wait, Wednesday night.
Well, it's going to be a big one, and realistically, Shane, I'd love to hear your perspective because I have no idea who's the better team. I'm leaning towards New Zealand, but being on the Sydney Kings home court, man, it's tough.
We'll get into that a little later.
We will. Plenty to get through as well. Joe Wright will join us shortly. And I have a massive bone to pick. I'm not happy about something.
Really?
Yes. I'll talk to you about it shortly. This is our TCL starting 5. Guys, the Breakers bounced back in a big way in Game 4 over there in New Zealand yesterday. 10-point winners in front of a record crowd as well. There was a bit of drama, though, in the post-match press conferences. Take a look.
I mean, there was no movement. You know, at one point it was 11-2, I think, the foul count in the second half. We were playing 5-on-8 out there. It was clear. I mean, do you need me to help you? Or? Okay. No, that's my opinion. Yeah, I mean, we knew we were going to get hosed, and we just said we got to weather the storm and stick together, and I don't think we did a great job of that, to be fair of it. But, yeah, just got to handle it better.
And not have that on your mind in the next game.
We'll be good.
Chase, is physicality not part of basketball, though, or do you think the Breakers take it over yet?
I'm good. Thanks, man.
I'm first of all looking at how awkward Zach is. Sat there just left in his wake. I'm like, oh no. What did you guys make of it?
Well, Shane, I thought, obviously, referring to what you just mentioned there, bringing Zach Atorna in there is very unfair on the young fellow. He's played no role in this series. He's done a great job being supportive on the bench, but, you know, I just feel really bad for him, and I wish maybe we got to talk to a guy like, or hear the viewpoint of a guy like Sean Bruce or a Vasiljevic, somebody who was in the game and had an impact on it. And I think at this level, we're at an international stage where there are a lot of viewers' eyes on this game, and I think there's a responsibility to bring key pieces of the organization to the podium with Chase.
Hard to argue with that, but obviously there's a fine coming. I mean, he was obviously frustrated, and he wears his heart in his sleeve, Chase Buford, and he's done exactly that. But, you know, it's after lunch today on Monday. I'm surprised there hasn't been a fine already, right? It's clear.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, though. Are you surprised?
What, that there's no fine
The
yet?
NBL aren't exactly quick with this kind of thing. I wouldn't be surprised until it's Thursday before we hear anything, and it has an
It
impact
has
on
to happen
next
before
season.
the game.
I don't know. Look at what happened at Christmas.
It has to happen before the game. You can't.
I'm just not surprised, that's all I'm saying.
I think there are some logistics that there are still NBL people, I'd imagine, coming back from New Zealand, so I wouldn't be surprised if we receive something this afternoon. I'm interested to see, I mean, Chase, I think is great for the league. He provides a lot of enthusiasm, animation, passion, some bad behavior sprinkled in there, but I think it's all in a positive result for the league. But I can't wait to see what this fine is. Are we talking about, you know, $5,000 for this? He said 5-on-8, Hammer.
Yeah.
You know who the other 3 are.
Yeah, I certainly do. I certainly do.
Alrighty. Moni Mayor was essentially not asked the exact same question, but was the situation was put to him, and this is his response.
Everybody is doing the best that they can. And I sat here after 3 games in the series, and I didn't say one peep about the referees because they are doing the best that they can. And all the other noise, man, belongs somewhere else. So don't ask me about this. I for sure didn't get any help from anybody to win this game. Chase Buford is a fantastic coach. His team plays fantastic basketball. His team plays very, very physical basketball. Do not paint this as we play physical and they don't. They play extremely physical, and we love it. This is what we want in the playoffs. So all the noise to try and get a whistle for the next game, I'm not taking part of this.
I really like what Modi said there about Chase being an excellent coach and the fact that the Kings are really physical. I also love that he snuck in the fact that he didn't think they had any help in Game 4 there.
Well, he's really respectful all the time, even after a loss. So, I mean, it's easier when you win to handle it like that, but he's been pretty classy all year. And I think what he said's right. I mean, it's a physical contest, and the referees are going to make some mistakes. And there's no doubt there's a whole lot of playing for the next game in the way people are reacting to try and get calls. And, you know, it's part of it, but hopefully the referees just call what they see, and we see a great game on Wednesday.
A very quick one, not regarding the NBL and referees, but Fred VanVleet, $30,000 fine. Too little?
Well, I think they have some guidelines that they try and adhere to over there in the NBA, Joe. So he's probably right on track. I don't think he'd want to go out there again with those types of comments.
I think he got away with a slap on the back of the hand for that one.
Well, we shall see. But over here, you know, certainly you don't see those types of numbers. But talking about those two coaches, Modi Mayor and Chase Buford, we're talking about two really elite coaches, Shane. And just because you're a great coach doesn't mean you're going to out-coach the other guy. They're working on strategies. They're trying to get their timing right with their adjustments. And right now, I got it 2-all, just like the series. I thought Chase Buford made great adjustments that started at the end of game 1 and carried over into 2 and 3 in the games they won. But then Modi came back yesterday with a little something special. And I like that he said, no one helped us win that game. And you know, I predicted there'd be a quick whistle against the Kings in game 4, and that did happen to some extent. But by and large, the Breakers won that game off their own bat.
Well, in amongst all of the drama, there was a really nice moment of Modi speaking about Tom Abercrombie. Take a listen to this.
We've been missing great shots throughout the whole series. Great shots that we're going to keep taking. And they're going to fall in game 5, and that will be that. But words about Tom Abercrombie will always fall short. This old guy gives you everything he's got every second he's out there. Effort plays, leadership, communication. I'm lucky to have him in my corner.
I love that.
That's what you want to hear from your coach. That's what everyone in the locker room wants to hear, because he had an impact on the game without scoring. He did exactly the same as what Justin Simons did in Game 2 when the Kings came and won against New Zealand. And you could have a massive impact by the hustle plays, the leadership, you know, his intensity, everything else that he did to be able to help them get over the line without going to get 20.
Well, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I really respect Thomas Abercrombie because of his ability to accept the role. He was a superstar in this league, and now he's slotted into that role, and it varies from game to game. We've seen games this past season where he's played 10 to 15 minutes a game. He's dealt with injuries, but now he's healthy at the right time of the year. He defends well. He defends 1 through 4 out there on the floor, so he's very versatile, and I think he's going to play a big part in Game 5.
No doubt.
Well, we will speak more about Game 5 in points made. We'll get into it. We'll find out your predictions for the series and also for the MVP. We've got to talk about the WNBL now, though. Townsville booked their spot in the final series. They are on a 14-game winning streak. How impressive have they been?
Shane, it's obviously your domain more so than mine, but you've got to respect a 14-game winning streak. I don't care what level you're at, and this is one of the elite women's competitions in the world. They've got tremendous balance, Townsville Fire. They've got 2 really elite point guards now with Shyla and Steph Reed, who are playing well alongside each other. And Shyla actually came at a perfect point in the season because Steph Reed has battled through injuries this year. She had a long extended NBL 1 campaign last season, and now she's starting to get healthy and starting to play at the peak of her game. They've got excellent imports, and their Australian contingent's really good. You know this lady right here, you work with her a little bit, and bang.
No, she's done well. I mean, it's a big adjustment for Shy going from a marquee player to be a bench player and remain positive, and when you're not playing the same sort of court time. But, you know, Shannon's done a great job, and they've got a really well-balanced team. So you're prepared to sacrifice for the good of the team. And she's there to try and rectify going to the championship a few years ago and coming second. I think they'll play Southside again because this other series is really close between Melbourne and Southside.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about. Obviously, 1 game apiece. Now, this is this drives me up the wall, but Game 3 of this series is at 7:30 on Wednesday night, which obviously clashes with Game 5 of the final series between the Kings and Breakers. I can't tell you how frustrating that is. As a basketball fan, I potentially will not go to Game 5 so I can be at home and watch both of them.
Well, Joe, we certainly want you at Game 5 here in Sydney, but I feel your frustration. I even felt it a bit yesterday with the big prize fight on at WPCOZ Bank Arena. That took a lot of eyes, and then the NBL started kind of as that game was going on.
For sure, but different sports.
Yes, but still, it's still a big event.
These are two sports where there is not one single thing positive for basketball in this country that is coming out of Wednesday night.
But it's hard to plan too. Like the fact that it could go to 5 and
Sure,
do Basketball
but
Australia and
now you know,
the NBL work
now
together.
you know,
and
move it. Now you know, move it.
Yeah, I'm not
So
sure
you think
because
the WNBL should move to Thursday?
Well, they can't.
The
Grand
NBL
final
or the
Game
WNBL, do
1
something
of
for
the
yourself
grand
as well.
final is Saturday for the WNBL. So there's just not enough time. It's a shame. I think you put it in the shame bucket because you're right, having to choose or go between the two. But this is going to be a great final between these Melbourne teams. And Melbourne Boomers bounced back, got their first win after losing 4 games against Southside. And I think Melbourne's got more talent. I think they got more quality. But for whatever reason, Southside have dominated them. Thornton was out of this game, and she's had a number on Kayla George, the MVP of the WNBL. George got going in this game without Thornton being there. I think Thornton will be back, and I think Southside will probably win it.
Well, I think it's up to Melbourne and how well they control the ball offensively. If they can play with poise and aggression hammer, I think Southside will struggle, and a lot of that's going to come from the point guard position, how Christy Wallace is able to dominate and command that team offensively. If she gets a bit erratic and plays with a lot of emotion, things can go a bit awry for them, I think.
Tiffany Mitchell's like one of the most dynamic players in the league. She is a dead set stud.
All right. Either way, I'm pleased that they get a standalone grand final series when it comes around on Saturday. The Brisbane Bullets, so their CEO, Pete McLennan, he stepped down last week. They now have rookie head coach. They've got no GM, free agency just around the corner. How do you see this playing out?
It's not good right now for the Bullets. Fortunately, they did sign Justin Schuler. I was a bit critical of that signing so early, but obviously with the other movements with Sam McKinnon and now Peter McLennan resigning, they at least have somebody in the basketball department that can make decisions. Now, in the front office, Stu Lash, I guess, is your guy, but he's over in the United States. So any face-to-face meetings, I guess Schuler's handling all that. I still don't think it's as solid as it needs to be from an organizational point of view. Stu Lash is still learning about the competition hammer. Do you think that's enough of a foundation to be a beautiful appeal to a potential free agent signing in Brisbane?
It could be a positive that Peter's not there because there's been some negativity about the front office. You've got a rookie head coach, Justin Schuler, coming in. So it's yet to be seen whether he can put together a team when you come from an assistant coach. I think we had him on the show and he was great. I think his plans sound good. Can he get those right pieces? And will you attract the right people and quality of players to a rookie coach coming to a team that's really underachieved?
And let's be honest, you're relying on relationships.
Yeah.
And relationships that he's worked with. You can't talk about the culture. You can't talk about the stable front office. You can't talk about the ownership. So a lot of this is going right on to Justin and to a lesser extent.
Talking about a vision of what you want to do.
Yes, and to a lesser extent, Greg Vanderjack.
Yeah, okay. I was also going to say DMAC 2 coming up. Is there anyone from Melbourne that we can see being poached up there for this season?
That's a very interesting point that I had not talked about, and that's why JoJo gets paid the big dollars. Look, there could be some pieces that fall out.
Two players officially re-signed, and then a next star who probably will be there as well.
Because DMAC, as we know, we've known him for 30 years. DMAC's a great guy. He does a good job with development. So any young players, I guess that's a good selling point. You get to work with DMAC. We know DMAC has worked with Josh Giddey, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one on the Bullet side.
Watch this space for that one.
Breaking all the big news in basketball with Matt Logue.
Matty Logue is in the house for the Logue Down. Matty, great to see you, as always.
Pumped. Grand final decider on Wednesday. Bring it on.
You ready for it?
Oh, yeah.
Who have you got?
I've got the Kings, but with no confidence, because I agree, this series has been like a game of chess, and the adjustments made and the sooking about the refereeing. I've loved it. It's had so many great layers, and I think after seeing that big crowd on last Friday, I'm like, can we just replicate this across the country? It was incredible.
Yeah, no doubt. Get the popcorn out for Wednesday night. Now, Larry Kesselman, owner of the league, he's causing a bit of stir up in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, went to the Gold Coast at the holiday strip, and not for a suntan. He went to visit a number of key people around a potential expansion option for the Gold Coast in the NBL. The only problem is he didn't go and see the guys that have got the official bid team, and they're a little bit disappointed. They're like, Larry, you went and had lunch with the mayor up there, Tom Tate, who he invited to QDOS last Friday as his special guest, and a few other key sponsors in and around the Gold Coast. But the bid team got brushed, and they've openly told me on the record and said that they believe that it's because Larry wants to do this expansion himself. He wants to do a similar model to what we've seen in Tasmania. And that actually links in perfectly because I believe there's movement on the JackJumpers front, which has sort of been around circles for a little bit, but I think it's not official yet, but my understanding is that the JackJumpers have been sold. We don't know who yet, and I've asked a lot of questions to the NBL to no reply, but...
A local is the thing, like the sort of word that keeps being thrown.
Can I jump in on that, though?
Yeah.
If you're Larry and the head office, why would you trust somebody else to come in and run a franchise when you've done it yourself? They've sold out 2 straight years. They've put the team together, all the pieces together and everything else. And there might be other things that benefit Larry as well, which I think you deserve anyway if you're going to take the risk. And then you get a chance to be able to sell it. Why would he trust somebody else to screw it up?
So who puts the official bid team together?
It's a good question. The people that, on the Gold Coast, for example, are a bunch of businessmen that have put their own bid together, and then they approach the NBL. Now, the NBL need to recognise this as an official. I'm saying official because it's their official that they're trying to apply. But at this point, the NBL, and I think Shane makes a really good point, if Larry has proven that the Tasmania, going in, getting real estate, at boutique stadium, and then he can go and sell it, then he's going to back himself to do that, as opposed to...
It's already failed a few times with other people trying to do it.
I don't blame him
on the Gold Coast. I don't blame him saying, "No, I'm doing it my way."
By the way, it wasn't a negative.
No, I know, but I'm just saying I don't blame him.
So if it's already failed on the Gold Coast, even if Larry is going to go and do his own thing there, is he even in the right location?
I don't think so. What do you think?
I mean, you got to hear what the other stories are, where it should be. It'll be interesting.
It's just so transient, and we've seen the history of teams that have failed there in the soccer and all different sports. And the Suns in the AFL and the Titans are significantly financially propped up. So the NBL doesn't have that luxury. So it is fascinating to sort of see where it goes next. And I know Sydney and Canberra are right in the mix, and potentially a Newcastle. So I just don't think the Gold Coast is the right option.
Interesting. You mentioned crowd numbers for the Grand Final series just before. What are you expecting for Wednesday night?
I think with the short turnaround, it's going to be really difficult to get that sold out again. I think we'll still see upwards of 17 though, hopefully. I think Sydney, you can do it. Come on, aim up. Let's go. It's a decider.
Don't Sydney love a winner?
And that,
it's great. And you congratulate Sydney. Well done for all the fans getting out there and coming to watch their team. Fantastic for the sport. And Wednesday night, if they can get that on a Wednesday night at Homebush, that would be incredible.
16,999
is the pick.
You heard it here first.
No, I'm messing. Because I'm going to be at home with the split screen watching the women as well. I'm messing.
Can I quickly just say, Joe's right there. She's 100% right. BA and the NBL get on the same page. No one showed any foresight there. They easily could have stopped that clash. Anyway, that's my rant.
Anything else?
No, that's all.
Beautiful. Time for points made thanks to UPCOZ. It all comes down to this Game 5 of the NBL Final Series Wednesday night. QDOS Bank Arena. The fans have been excellent. The energy in the building has been amazing right throughout the series. Who wins and why? Do you first?
Wow. I thought New Zealand were the better team coming into this series, Hammer. I lost that confidence after Game 3. But I am back on the New Zealand train. I think they are the better team in this competition, mostly because I'm not convinced of the health of Xavier Cooks, who I thought was going to find this series difficult anyway. But now that he's struggling, he isn't as productive as he has been throughout the regular season. I'm going to go with New Zealand. I think they just have more depth. I know they're playing away from home, but there's my prediction.
Well, I'm staying with New Zealand as well. I missed game 3, so maybe that's blurred for me because I didn't see them lose that game. And it sounded putrid in the second half where they couldn't score for 10 minutes. They're going to have to make buckets, but I think they've got the shot makers to be able to do it. Brown is elite. He's the best scorer on the court. So an ability to be, and you saw that 3 that he hit on the wing over one of the bigs. It might have been Cooks or somebody. It was at a critical time, and he let it go, and it went so high and nothing but net at a critical stage. He's that sort of player that if he comes up big in this game, then I think between him and Brantley, they've got the scoring capacity to be able to get it done. I'm not sure where it's going to come from the Sydney Kings. I think it's still going to be a low-scoring game, but at the same time, you can't write the Kings off because they've found a way to be able to get it done when you thought they were done. Game 2, Justin Simon steps up, all done at the defensive end. They went to that zone, they swung things up, and that's what makes it this a really intriguing game. And great for the league that we can go to Game 5.
Oh, it's amazing, definitely. The Kings role players, though, those guys off the bench, Geordie Hunter, Angus Glover, those guys have been excellent this series.
Angus Glover hit a bit of a down patch just at the end of the season. He shot the ball so well this season, but he's regained that touch. He was good yesterday in New Zealand.
Took a big hit yesterday.
He did take a big hit.
Jeez.
But he's playing with a lot of confidence. I think he has the size and the athleticism on the perimeter that gives the New Zealand guys in that same position problems. And his ability to shoot the basketball hammer, I think that could be a big key for the Kings. Now, they need DJ to hit some buckets or at least get to the free throw line. They need volume right now. I'm not too worried about efficiency from DJ. They just need raw points from him.
Yeah, they're going to need to find points. They do, and their point guard's going to have to come up big. He did in New Zealand in the last game, Walton Jr., but he's going to have to do it again. You just sort of sense at different stages they lose a little bit of confidence, the Kings. If they get their nose in front, they get the crowd going, they get some steals, transition, but when they need big buckets, that's going to be the question mark. So whoever hits shots, and it's simplifying the game, obviously, but teams are going to have to make shots.
Joe, there's one thing that scares me, though, about New Zealand.
Yeah.
They've had stretches in this series of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I think 7 minutes where they haven't gotten a bucket. That's 22 minutes of game time where you have not scored a single field goal. That must be some type of record.
It does.
And that is worrisome for me, especially being on the Kings' home court.
The solution, as soon as it starts to go down that track, they need to be able to huddle and they need to be able to say, Brown, we're coming at you. Go make something happen, because he is that good at being able to create his own shots and score, get it to other people. Brantley can play off him, and to me, that's going to be the solution. If he makes shots, they win.
Shane, we've both been in big games like this. Unfortunately, I've been in 2 grand final deciders, and I wasn't as fortunate as you. You didn't ever have to go to a game 3. You swept Perth 2-0 on their court. What is the key to winning away from home in a grand final series?
Well, I think New Zealand's got that key because I think they've got the belief. They've already won twice in this stadium. They've won a final, game 1, and they won during the season. So they'll have the belief that they can get it done. And I think it all starts and stops with that because they've got the people, they've got the game plan to be able to do it. They know they can restrict the Sydney Kings. I looked at the total score for this game and it was 186 or something. I don't think there's any way it's going to get to 186, is it? This has been a low-scoring, defensive dominant series.
Yeah, apart from that game 3 in Sydney, but yes. My next question, who is the MVP of the finals?
If Sydney win, Derek Walton Jr. has had moments, but Justin Simon, when they play well and win, he is the key to winning championship series game for the Kings. If he plays well in Game 5 Wednesday night, Hammer, he will be the MVP. New Zealand, it could be Will McDowell-White, it could be Barry Brown Jr., it could be Jarrell Brantley. Right now, I'm leaning towards Will McDowell-White. I think he is the linchpin when things go well. But Hammer, you're probably going to disagree with me, even though if you believe me, but you're just you.
No, I think you're right. It's very close for both teams. Whoever wins, obviously, is going to get the MVP. And the three players that you spoke about, Brown, Brantley, and also McDowell White, are key. If they have a big influence, they're probably going to get the MVP. And same with the Sydney Kings. They're going to have someone have an influence to be able to win this game. And whoever that person is going to be the person who gets it. And that's probably going to be the two Americans.
Now, I haven't heard you answer JoJo's question. She said, who do you think is going to be the MVP? Give me the guy from New Zealand.
I'm going to go Brown because I think Brown's going to have a big influence on this game. I think he's going to come through. I just think it's his mindset, and he's going to back the guy that believes in himself.
Tough. Yes, that's exactly it, his mindset. That guy believes in himself no matter what.
Yeah, they're going to back him early and say, you go take us.
All right, moving stateside then, the NBA MVP. Two main front runners in Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. Giannis, I think, is third. Jason Tatum, maybe fourth in terms of the odds. Who is it for you?
I'm going to go Embiid. I haven't always been an Embiid fan, as you guys know, but geez, I watched him hit the game winner the other day. He has been so consistent, and it's sort of helped. I mean, Harden's been able to put up some numbers, but everybody knows.
Wait. You're going to give him some credit? He's having one of the best seasons of his career.
He's been good. And I think what he's done is he's gone, okay, Embiid is the man, and I'm happy to play second fiddle, still put up some points, still do what I do, but Embiid's the man. And that's what I think's actually helped James Harden and Embiid have more success. But I think he's been more consistent and he's helping his team win. I think he's the MVP. And again, I looked at the UPCOZ odds and he's like $3.50 and the Joker's $1.40. Deke.
Okay, before I give you the correct answer, can I at least get you to acknowledge that James Harden is a very good basketball player?
I feel like I did that just then.
This guy.
I feel like he's playing a really valuable game, playing his best basketball day.
Joel is averaging 33, 10 and 4.
Wow.
A lot of people are talking about he's made his name made a case for his name because they are winning again.
Of course.
Whereas, if you look at the Nuggets, they are top in the West.
They've been
starting to struggle lately, though.
Yes, they've had two disappointing losses.
Okay,
hey,
that's
Joe,
lately,
you know
isn't it?
what, though? Recency bias. I mean, you're a millennial. You know all about that. The Nuggets struggling lately will hurt Jokic. But throughout the course of this season, he's clearly the best player in the competition. Although I think right now the MVP isn't as strong as it used to be. I don't think it's carrying the same weight because guys miss so much competition.
Yeah.
They miss so many games with whatever reasons, whether they're legitimately injured or
but
they're
even
load
more
managing.
respect for those guys that aren't missing games.
And Embiid is pretty good. Those two guys play, and Giannis plays. Giannis plays when he has a chance.
Does anything come into it from Kendrick Perkins' outburst into who wins this?
I think that was all discredited. I think Perkins really took a big L on that one. Those facts that he went on with were proven to, in fact, be non-factual.
Not facts. Yeah.
So,
Not facts.
L Perk.
Not facts. Those facts were not facts.
Alrighty,
That's a fact.
Check out upcoz.com.au for all the markets and have a gamble if you're willing. Well, this week we are going in-depth thanks to NBA 2K23 with NBL Championship winning coach Joey Wright, who joins us now from his home in Adelaide. Joey, so good to have you on the basketball show. Great to be able to pick your brain and have a chat. I want to ask you about the Grand Final series so far. 2 games apiece, obviously, going into Game 5 on Wednesday night. What have you made of the series as a whole so far?
Look, I have enjoyed the series. I thought it's been some good basketball play, especially in the first game. I thought Sydney's bench stood up. It was great to see them come through in the second game. The next 2 games were a bit of a toss-up. I think some, maybe a little integrity has been compromised there for the sake of popularity. But it has been a good series.
Joey, I played for you for 3 years, or 3 great years. I know what your mindset is. Who do you think is going to win Game 5 Wednesday night in Sydney? I think I have an idea who you're going to go with.
I think Sydney's going to win by a bunch. I think they'll win by 20.
What?
I don't think New Zealand played great last game, even though Sydney played worse. I thought New Zealand should have really, stepped up. And in the second game, they were right there. And, they kind of choked on that one a little bit. I think they should have put that one away, and then they make it really interesting, very interesting.
Joey, you've been pretty outspoken in your career and you've been fined for very little at different stages in press conferences. What have you made of Chase Buford so far and some of the things that he's been able to say this season? I don't remember seeing you put your foot through any sort of signage.
I think if I would have did what Chase did, they would revoke my residency. I'd be headed back to America, let alone playing in the NBL. I've been fined for a lot less, but I think they see that a lot of the coaches now, with the visibility of the league, they're coaching for their lives. The passion out there, it's just passion. Chase is a great coach. Maldy's a great coach. And both of them coach with a lot of passion. In order to get stuff out of your troops, sometimes you have to do that. And they're carrying on like probably I would. So.
Joey, speaking of the Kings, obviously Xavier Cook's heading over to the NBA with Washington literally come the end of this week. How do you think he'll fit in over there?
Oh, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. It's a very rare move to bring someone over at this point in time in the season and put him on the active roster. If he was going to the G League, that would make more sense. But to put him on the active roster is very surprising. But it could not have happened to a better person, better family. You love these feel-good stories. And, I'm just very, very happy for Xavier to get this opportunity.
Joey, going into a championship deciding game like we have coming up, how do you balance the season-long plan versus changing on the fly and doing whatever is required to get the title? How does that equation work? Describe it, what you've gone through in your experiences.
I would go in with the same mentality we've had all year. I start trying to shape those mentalities in preseason. So I don't want to change anything just because it's a big game. We want to go in and play hard as we have all year. We want to go in and execute our plays as we have all year. It needs to be about us. And as you know, we would do some things that, kind of loosen our players up at the beginning of the game. Tip off. I'll let Rucker shoot a 40-footer on tip off in pretty much every tip-off situation. But we just wanted to show everybody we were loose and we're going to get some shots up and we're going to play loose. And that would be the first thing I would be focusing on early in the first quarter is just, are we loose? Are we who we are?
Joey, I know you're doing well, coaching young, talented individual players and taking over South Australia, just like Rucker has Queensland, but and making the big bucks, by the way. But is that where you're going now? You see all these assistant coaches getting head coaching jobs, and with the experience and success you've had in the past, is that still something you consider moving forward?
Look, I'm happy where I'm at now. I'm getting to the other side of 50, so I got to start thinking about quality of life and happiness and what you're really getting out of it. And I'm right in that balance.
Well, Joey, we miss you in the league, but so great to hear that you're doing well and loving life coaching down there in Adelaide. Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll all be watching on Wednesday. You heard it here first, the Kings by 20 points. We'll see how we go.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Good on you, Joey.
That is all we've got time for this week. We've had everyone in the studio. It's been fun, guys.
Packed house.
Full house. Don't worry about that. It's grand final time.
Yeah, can't wait. Very quickly, remind us.
New Zealand.
New Zealand?
Kings.
Oh, okay.
And Joey Wright says Kings by 20.
I know.
And I'm going Southside in the WNBL. And then Townsville to win game 1 of the WNBL Grand Final Saturday.
Okay. Go on then.
I'm going Townsville to win the championship.
Townsville, what he said.
Yeah, alrighty. I'll go Boomers. We'll throw it in there just for
to win the whole thing.
No, I'm messing. Just no one mentioned the Boomers.
Thank
you guys so much for watching. A lot of fun, as I mentioned. Thank you to TCL Mobile, 2K23 and UPCOZ, and our broadcast partners, KO and News Corp as well. We're out. See you next week.
That we will.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.